Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for joining us today for this highly anticipated webinar on optimizing regulatory outsourcing for the Central and Eastern European region. I'm Evelina Davidonene, and on behalf of Biomapas, I'm delighted to welcome all of you, professionals, experts, and leaders from the pharmaceutical industry, and all of the colleagues working on the service provision industry as well. Today, we have gathered here for the shared objective to explore the dynamic field of the regulatory outsourcing within the CEE region and, of course, uncover opportunities for how we're going to optimize processes for the pharmaceutical industry. As we navigate an increasingly complex and competitive industry, it becomes crucial for us to stay ahead of the curve and adapt to the ever-evolving norms and regulations. Therefore, we have particularly built our agenda today to cover a wide range of topics, starting from the regulatory nuances and legislation unique for this region, advantages of optimizing regulatory outsourcing and processes, and best practices and practical insights. Our speakers today are Claudia Ghislieri and myself, and we will share our knowledge and experiences, bringing you valuable perspective. Let me start with introducing myself. As I already shared, I'm Evelina Davidonene, and with over 15 years of experience in the regulatory field, I have gained extensive knowledge and expertise in navigating the regulatory environment, making my insights particularly valuable for today's topic for regulatory outsourcing. Throughout my career, I have successfully built and implemented regulatory strategies, forced cross-functional collaboration, and provided leadership to my teams. The regulatory landscape is ever-evolving, and I have always been inspired by those challenges, which continuously driving me forward. And I truly believe that every pharmaceutical organization and regulatory in every pharmaceutical organization is backbone, fundamental for the market access for the new and existing products. And with this passion and mindset, I was making those significant contributions in two areas. Internally, by supporting business growth and executing regulatory strategies, and externally by engaging with the regulatory bodies and advocating for organizations I worked with. So with the same passion and with the same mindset, I hope that we're going to transfer all our knowledge and experiences during this webinar. And now I would like to kindly give the floor to my wonderful colleague Claudia to introduce herself too.
Good afternoon, good evening, colleagues. It's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar. My name is Claudia Ghislieri. I am the Head of Regulatory Affairs Project Management in Biomapas. I joined Biomapas 3 years ago after more than 15 years in the service provider environment. I have more than 20 years experience in RA, with also some additional experience in quality assurance, and I also covered the role of a qualified person, so definitely engaged in all the regulatory connected activities since the very beginning of my career. Here in Biomapas, I am responsible to make sure that processes run smooth, that they are connected to needs of clients and addressing local requests as well, local regulations. And during this webinar, I will provide my contribution and my experience to the challenging environment, but also very, very interesting and, developing environment in the CEE region. So I give the floor back to Evelina.
So without further ado, thank you so much once again for joining us today. And we strongly believe that by the end of this webinar, you will have gained valuable insights into the regulatory outsourcing landscape, understand the potential benefits, and identify key strategies to successfully navigate the challenges faced by the pharmaceutical industry. Thank you and enjoy the presentation. So looking into the trends in the pharmaceutical industry, we wanted to start our webinar with actually going through all the challenges that pharmaceutical industry is facing. And since we have and we are navigating in an increasingly complex and competitive pharmaceutical industry, there is a huge importance to understand the norms and regulations and stay ahead actually of those. So therefore now we would like to cover those main important challenges that in the pharmaceutical industry is facing. And one of those is regulatory compliance. Pharmaceutical companies must comply with a labyrinth of regulations and guidelines set forth by health authorities worldwide. The complexity and variability of these regulations pose a significant challenge, and companies must invest considerable resources to meet compliance requirements while keeping up with the forefront updates and changes. Second challenge that the pharmaceutical industry is changing is R&D productivity. The pharmaceutical industry heavily relies on the research and development to bring innovative medicines to patients. However, increasing R&D cost and declining productivity pose significant challenges. Discovering and developing new drugs is difficult, demanding, and time-consuming process that requires substantial not only investments, but also clinical trials and, of course, regulatory approvals. Market access and pricing pressures are also not less important challenges that pharmaceutical industry is facing. And negotiating reimbursement and pricing engagements with payers and health authorities becomes more demanding as cost constraints on pharmaceutical, and balancing affordable access to medicines with sustainable business model presents a delicate challenge as well. Digital transformation is a popular topic nowadays, but this is also creates certain challenges. Therefore, incorporating digital technologies and leveraging data analyticals plays also an important role in the pharmaceutical industry. However, the integration of digital solutions into traditional processes can be also challenging because of companies required to invest in those infrastructures, data security, and skills development, and stay competitive. And to overcome all those challenges, pharmaceutical companies must proactively seek for the solutions. And the trends in the industry demonstrates that they have to embrace the strategic partnerships, because by collaborating with the experienced regulatory or not only regulatory service providers, companies can navigate the complex landscapes, enhance R&D efficiencies, optimize market access strategies, and of course, effectively leverage digital transformation opportunities. Moving to the next slide, I would like to share with you why and touch base with you why we have chosen the CEE region and what are the main reasons behind that. So firstly, the challenges, of course, in the CEE region that we will cover very shortly in the next slides. Additionally, the CEE region aligns with the general industry tendencies in outsourcing. And of course, the third element, which is not less important, is the experience and opportunities that CEE region is also creating. And for those that doesn't know, I also wanted to mention very quickly what are those countries that Central and Eastern Europe represents. So those might differ because depends on the resource, but we have chosen the countries that we mostly focusing on and we are experienced, and those are Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, Poland, Czech, Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Macedonia, Montenegro, Albania, Malta, Cyprus, Greece, Bosnia, Turkey, and Baltic countries. So moving into the next slide, we would like to quickly touch base and to deep dive into the unique aspects related to the CEE regulatory environment. And one of those is the diverse regulatory frameworks. So in the CEE region, each country has its own set of regulations that are influenced by the EU directives, but often come with the national amendments. While the EU directive, of course, serves as a common framework across member states, national amendments are implemented to address specific local requirements and considerations. These amendments can vary significantly across country to country, but the most important is that they are also creating complex regulatory environment that business must navigate in. So successfully to operate within all those regulatory environment in the CEE region, it is crucial to have a deep understanding of these country-specific regulations and ensure that compliance with both EU directive and EU national amendments is in place. Not less important is also maintain the close relationships with the local regulatory bodies and stakeholders to stay informed about any changes or updates to the regulations. The other point that we also wanted to touch base is language and documentation requirements, which can also be a unique challenge in CE region. And the countries often require submissions and documentations to be provided in the local language because of this is the specificity across many countries in CE region. In order to comply with local regulations and effectively communicate with the government authorities, businesses operating in those countries have to submit their documents in the local language. And this is particularly important for legal documents, for contracts, for permits, for licenses, for financial statements, and for other similar materials. And it becomes essential to engage professional translators experienced in both the local language and the specific industry terminology. Moreover, it is crucial for businesses to allocate sufficient time and resources to handle the translation and documentation process. This includes allowing for extra review and verification to ensure that accuracy and avoid any potential misunderstanding or errors, because of that could lead in the delays or inefficiency or in quality issues related to the business operations, but also to the product launches, which may have also a financial significant impact for the pharmaceutical companies. So in addition to the language challenges, businesses should also be aware that certain documents, like, for example, some POAs or other documents should be notarized or apostille depending on the country-specific requirements. So all this also adding additional complexities that experts working with those countries should be very well aware and overcome all those challenges in order to be competitive and operate well in those countries. Moving to the next slide, there are two more challenges that we would like to touch base, and one of those very broad topic, but we would like to make it very structured so that it's well understandable and simple to cover. However, if there would be questions, of course, you can you are more than welcome to ask those questions after the presentation. We would be happy to cover if there would be any. But let's now come back to those market access pathways. So countries have various market access pathways that are significantly important, and those are mostly related to the registration, reimbursement, and pricing processes. And when it comes to registration, countries may have their own specific requirements, and those specific requirements usually relates to timelines, to different submission requirements, and require a deep understanding of the registration process, which again might be very complex and time-consuming. For example, we will not touch base the whole countries, but just to demonstrate that there might be differences, we touch base two regions. So, for example, Baltic countries have their own specificities for registration requirements. For instance, in Estonia, the State Agency of Medicines manages the process, and the timelines for market authorization is approximately 120 days. While in Latvia, it might be around 90 days, and in Lithuania, it may vary from few months to over a year or even more. In Balkan countries, there is even more diverse advanced regulatory registration requirements. So therefore, going deeper and into each of the countries, so it's really crucial to understand the specificities, because of requirement processes and timelines for registration may differ and vary a lot. Another critical aspect of the market access in the CE region is reimbursement, and each country has its own healthcare system and reimbursement frameworks, which can also vary greatly. Some countries may have a centralized reimbursement system, while others have decentralized system managed by regional or local authorities. And the criteria for the reimbursement or eligibility pricing negotiations may also differ or can vary significantly. And if it is interesting also, we can touch base very quickly what are the market access pathways, because of all those countries also are very different between each other. So therefore, there are also very different range of the options to explore for the industry to enter those markets. So one of the common market access pathways is establishing a physical presence of subsidiary offices, branches, or manufacturing facilities. Another pathway is through strategic partnerships or joint ventures with local companies. Additionally, businesses can also explore market access through distribution or retail channels. But the most important is that in every case, it should be done the market research and deep, let's say, analysis on the specific requirements, regulations, cultural nuances, and this would allow businesses to choose the most suitable market access pathways based on their industry, based on their product or services that they're going to offer to one or to another market. And the last point that we wanted also to touch base in regards to those aspects related to the CEE region is rapidly evolving regulations. And indeed, regulations in the Central and Eastern European countries are rapidly evolving and presenting both challenges and opportunities. And one factor contributing to the rapidly evolving regulations is the integration into the European Union. Many countries have joined the EU, resulting in the adoption of and implementation of the EU directive. And this integration, of course, has led to harmonization of certain laws and standards across the regions. And of course, this is, let's say, improvement in the release, and this gives a lot of consistency. Additionally, CEE countries often undergo also economic, political, and social reforms that impact their regulatory frameworks. And this may introduce new regulations or amendments to the existing ones, which is, again, not adding the simplicity, but adding more complexity. Another driver of evolving regulations in the CEE countries is technology advancements. As technology continues to advance, governments are faced with the need to adopt the legislation to address challenges and opportunities, and this can also result in new regulations regarding the data privacy, cybersecurity, digital commerce, and emerging technologies such as, for example, artificial intelligence. While the rapidly evolving regulations in this region may present challenges, they also may create opportunities for business. So adopting to new regulations can enhance operational efficiency, improve product quality and safety standards, and foster trust with the customers. So those businesses that proactively accept the evolving regulatory landscape can gain a competitive edge, build strong partnerships, and position themselves as leaders in their respective industries. So now let's stop for a while talking about those challenges, and maybe let's deep dive a little bit to solutions to all those challenges and aspects that we have covered. And I'm handing over to my colleague, Claudia.
So thank you, Evelina. So I think that we can move to the next slide that actually still deals a little bit with some challenges, because together with external challenges, companies also face internal challenges. And they can be roughly summarized into two main points that consist in the cost optimization and in the business continuity. These 2 points can be expanded further into a list of challenges that we added here according to our experience, and that mainly consist in the cost optimization that's strictly connected with, for example, the resources flexibility and also with the resources experience. But not only, this is also connected with challenges triggered by the need to harmonize processes or to make the management and oversight more efficient, or maybe to improve the quality. So all these challenges, together with external challenges, according to our experience, can be solved moving to an affiliate-based outsourcing that consists in how to say, integrating the outsourcing, integrating, sorry, the service providing team into the client setup and organization. And this consists definitely in a quite long-term and very effective collaboration that transforms all these challenges into benefits, and we will see how in the next slides. So if we move to the next slide, we can see that all these challenges that we saw can be addressed, and at the same time, efficiency can be improved, implementing definitely, in one word, some optimization. Optimization that consists in many actions, but we can roughly summarize them here into some actions that start with the standardization of processes. So standardization of processes is something that triggers cost saving, because actually upon a first investment that is needed in order to set up everything, processes, then we end up in clear and reproducible processes that require less changes, less adjustment, and that allow teams to have a clear understanding and a common understanding of processes and of responsibilities and of timelines. And this has a positive impact, for example, on the time and cost savings. And those time and cost savings allow, allocation of more resources on, for example, the technology implementation and improvement, and also on the training improvement. And this has, in turn, a very positive effect on the team management, on the team satisfaction. Less stress, less frustration, people are more engaged, and people really more knowledgeable. So this has, in turn, again, a positive feedback on the team that can be used in a more optimized way. And all this leads to how to say, the generation of data that are definitely reliable, accurate, trustable, and that can be used with a high level of confidence in the decision making process. So if we move to the next slide, we can see in detail what are the benefits of implementing these type of outsourcing. So benefits are roughly summarized here into this cost-effective resources management. Outsourcing really allows the company to, give away all those headaches and all those costs that are connected to onboarding of resources, training of resources, keeping those resources up to date, and managing the team, because outsourcing really allows team to be readily available and fully aware of all the local requirements. Not only team is always already trained on the local requirements. It is knowledgeable and really flexible, so it is used just upon need. And this really improves not only costs, but also compliance. Processes internally are improved. Processes are reviewed and updated and implemented by a team who is fully knowledgeable, but it is not biased by, maybe some internal background or historical management. So that's really a fresh view on the actual situation. And last but not least, all this leads to the setup of a team and processes that are scalable and flexible. So about flexibility, we already said, you know, team is used upon need, but also once the process has been defined and set up, and if all the details have been considered and all the needs have been considered, a process is put in place that is totally scalable. So it can be adjusted to increase or decrease of workload, increase or decrease expansion or a contraction of the portfolio, or any other needs. Nevertheless, we have to consider that in order to put in place all these benefits and all these processes, there are some best practices that have to be taken into account. And if we move to the next slide, we can see one of these best practices that is really, really important. And I have a direct, really wide experience with these potential challenges. And it is the engagement of stakeholders. So it's fundamental that all stakeholders involved in the process are engaged, informed, trained, and provided with all information, clear information, fair information about how the collaboration works. Because connection and communication among stakeholders is fundamental in order to make sure that processes work in the right way, and that resources are used in the right way, and that everything is optimized at the end of the day. So it's important, for example, to pay attention to the local cultural sensitivity, because we deal with different people, with different culture, with different backgrounds. So it's important to take them into account and also to set up clear instructions and also to clarify who is the decision maker and what are the responsibilities of each and every stakeholder. And this really contributes in order to exploit the local expertise and make sure that all stakeholders have a really collaborative approach to the process. There are other best practices that we can see in the next slides, for example. And one of these is consisting in taking into account and really adjusting to cultural differences that really have to be considered when working in a wide region. Like what Evelina said regarding the different local requirements, we also have to consider different cultural approach. And we have to consider that there must be respect in connection with those local cultural needs, as well as with local norms, local requirements, local languages, local values. Proficiency then with regards to local language is a must. And this is the reason why local experts are always involved in this type of outsourcing. And for sure, we are not all the same. Companies are not all the same. Needs are not the same. They are connected to strategies, portfolio, location, plans. So everything contributes to setting up a strategy that really has to be customized. And on top of everything, we also have to always remember that there are regional differences that must be taken into account. This contributes to set up a collaboration that is based on respect and that leads to all stakeholders to speak the same technical and operational language. So all the potential unwritten and unspoken needs are also taken into consideration. And to do this, moving to the next slide, we can summarize actions to implement the cultural considerations in the following way. So we have to understand where are we starting from and what we want to achieve. So in the next slide, we will see that the collection of needs, roles, goals, achievement plans, and duties is fundamental in the outsourcing, and it is really part of the governance of this outsourcing. So how we want to proceed, by when, and who does what, who acts, who drives, who oversees, and who evaluates is a starting point in order to start something that really works afterwards. And speaking about governance, if we move to the next slide, we can identify, say, different stages of governance. So starting with the executive governance, let's remember that prior to setting up any type of collaboration and outsourcing, it is fundamental to define the services and the geography that we want to be in scope, and also to evaluate and discuss infrastructures, and also to anticipate or identify as far as possible all potential concerns and put in place a mitigation plan and also an escalation path. Why? Because when we start working on the project and we move to the setup governance, we face the very first test of what was discussed at the beginning. So during the rollout or the kickoff, all the processes are tested, and all the trainings are started. Supporting documents are prepared, and operational planning is put in place. And this is the reason why, generally speaking, the project setup consists in a small rollout or kickoff that focuses on a few countries or a few projects that can be identified among those that are most critical, or that are most urgent, or that are most important for the company, and that will serve as a test in order to identify potential concerns that unfortunately were not identified at the beginning. It always happens, despite the idea is really to anticipate everything. It can happen that unplanned, unforeseen challenges pop up. And so it is really good to have this rollout phase where those challenges can be addressed, at a lower extent, with no main concerns or no major concerns, so that the relevant lesson learned can be brought into the standard operational governance management. So that's the management that really takes place when the main activities are started and put in place. The processes are more or less defined, and the country specific support can really be deployed, and communication with stakeholders are very well defined, and also communication with health authorities are taking place, and people allowed to do that are identified. And once everything is in place, the governance does not end. So governance moves to another step, that's the local compliance governance, that consists not more on the setup of the processes, on testing of the processes, but once all those processes go on their own, governance focuses on supporting and underlying processes like, for example, internal auditing or CAPA management, or improvement of those processes, and lesson learned. Again, regulatory is not a standalone department, is not a standalone team. It's connected to many teams, so it is important that all processes really work very fine at each and every level. And how is this achieved in Biomapas? We can see that in the next slide. Here we have quite high-level representation. So maybe in the next slide, if you can move to the next, we have a quite a high-level representation of governance at Biomapas. So we can roughly identify Biomapas team, group Biomapas teams into three groups. So it's the operational team, that's the regional team, local experts who are in direct contact with health authorities or with other stakeholders or also with local affiliates, and who are actually in direct contact with client relevant roles and functions in order to make sure that processes and activities and tasks are really managed in a prompt way, and people belonging to the same environment talk to each other, speaking the same language. When needed, all those local activities are supported by central services, like, for example, medical writing, or, for example, ECTD publishing, or, for example, document updating, reformatting, or also core dossier and labeling. These are really central services that usually do not speak directly with the client because they are supporting the regional teams, but for sure connected with the flexibility needed in this outsourcing. Any type of communication among those central services and client can take place as well. On top of everything, the project management makes sure that everything works in the right way. So the process is set up, the description of the process, the implementation of the process, the team training, the oversight of processes, as well as improvement of processes, calculation of KPIs, and final invoicing are really kept under control by that project management team, that also make sure that if any changes take place in the collaboration, or if extension or change of the agreed services is needed, they are promptly managed and taken into account. So moving to the next slide, we can also see that on top of everything, measurement is key in order to ensure that all processes work properly. Measurement can consist both in measurement of metrics or measurement of KPIs. Because this really helps adjusting and improving the management and really achieving the common goals. Generally speaking, at the time of project setup, a few KPIs are identified that are the most critical for the implementation of the process, and then through the measurement of matrix, additional KPIs can be identified and put in place. So again, measurement is the only way to make sure that the process is under control. But also measurement is strictly connected to what we were mentioning at the beginning. So if there is no optimization of team management, of processes, of activities, of communication, the data that are measured are not reliable. So everything is really, really connected. And this ends up in the implementation of these additional best practice. And if we move to the next slide, we can also mention among best practices, this regulatory intelligence. Regulatory intelligence is fundamental when working in such a challenging and fast evolving environment. All the challenges that were presented by Evelyn at the beginning are really kept under control and managed through this regulatory intelligence that consists in the monitoring of local needs, local requirements, evaluation and assessment of those local needs and requirements in order to make sure that tasks connected to registration, management of activities, marketing of products in those countries is performed in the right way. So the idea is really to identify the regulatory intelligence sources, and this is triggered by the company needs, the portfolio of the company, the management, the plans of the company, and how to prepare, how to develop, collect data in the regulatory intelligence, and to what extent this regulatory intelligence results shall be evaluated, assessed, commented by the service provider is something that is really customized and defined together with the client, because it cannot be, defined on top of everything because the needs are different. So just to quickly summarize, in the next slide, we can see that the path from the preparation to a steady state ABO goes through 4 steps. First of all, it is preparation. It's fundamental. Nothing can be started without the preparation and without a clear assessment of what is needed and what is the idea, what is the goal, what we want to achieve. Then the start of the project consists in this pilot step that should help in identifying any unplanned potential concerns and putting in place the processes that can be moved then to a steady state to the transfer from the pilot or rollout into a more extensive collaboration. And at the end of the day, when everything is put in place, it's just a matter of putting in place governance and acting with this governance in order to make sure that processes, collaboration, relation works fine and possibly are improved. So that's really, really high level information. I hope that it was clear. Anyway, if you want to get more details, or if you are interested in learning a little bit more, you are really welcome to download the white paper from Biomapa's website. So you will see really a lot of useful information within. And with this, I don't know, maybe we run out of time.
We are running out of the time, but I see that we have also a lot of questions in the chat, and maybe some of them we can cover, Claudia.
Sure.
So one of the questions, how long does it take to set up the ABO?
Well, it depends. Actually, like I was saying, it really depends on the client need, the situation, the plan, the goal, the countries impacted, the current setup, the understanding of the client, of the needs, the number of stakeholders involved. So I'm really not able to answer this question, but I would say that on top of everything, even before starting our collaboration and our outsourcing, we are really keen and really open and willing to discuss also these pre-agreement, pre-assessment topics with clients. So maybe it is definitely customized. Yeah.
Maybe one more question. Are we able to offer affiliate-based sourcing only in CE region or in other regions as well?
No, for sure, also in other regions. So I would say all over Europe, also in Eurasian area, and also in the MENA area for the time being. But there's no limit to expansion actually.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Claudia. And since we are running out of the time, I just wanted to already close the meeting. For those questions that we see in the chat, we will try to do our best to answer those by email and to try to reach out to you definitely. And we wanted to express our really sincere gratitude to all of you for taking the time to attend today's webinar on regulatory outsourcing in the Central and Eastern European region. We hope that you have found it both informative and valuable, and we hope that you found it to be a good investment for your time, and that the knowledges that you gained will assist you in the overcoming those challenges in your region. So once again, thank you so much. I would like to extend all my heartfelt to my really wonderful colleague, Claudia. Your insights were really, truly valuable. And once again, thank you so much for attending. Good luck to everyone and hope to see you next time.
Thank you.